Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. This is the weekly Roundup premium video. Boy, what an interesting time in the markets. So let's just go ahead and jump in because we have a lot to cover. I know a lot of you guys are going to have questions. Remember, I feel like probably at least 50% of the value of the premium list comes from being in the Telegram alerts channel. So if you're not in that, and you just think like, Telegram, you just don't want it, just know that I think most people find a lot of value from that because I literally give updates every few hours on the market and what I'm doing and whatnot. So just make sure to check that out. If you're not in it, you can find a link to that in the description below. Okay, you can find a link to the bot, and then from there you'll be invited. Now, what a day, right? What a day. Bitcoin has pulled back finally, we've pulled back below the 0.5 risk level, okay? And right now we are actually slightly back above it, but if you guys were watching over the last few hours, we've been below it. We've been below 0.5 pretty constantly, so I was able to get some orders in below the 0.5 risk level. And I hope many of you guys were. I know I was polling you guys on Telegram. I know a lot of you were able to get some buys in at some cheaper levels. Now, with that said, I would not say this on the public channel. I certainly would not say this on the public channel, but I would I would prefer for us to consolidate for a while. Okay, I would prefer for us to go down. Okay, this is what I would prefer. And I've gotten, I've picked up some Bitcoin for the first time since October. Okay, so it's been a while. For those that have been, asking me for a while, hey, have you bought Bitcoin? Like, how come you never buy Bitcoin anymore? Is it going to go straight to 100K? This is a great example of what it takes for me to buy. I really want to see that shakeout, like the real shakeout, not just a little dip, And this one is enough for me. This one was enough for me to come in because the Bitcoin risk went well below 0.5. We were showing the risk model on a few different charts or a few different Telegram posts, and you can see it here. We actually came down to about 0.43 or so. So pretty opportunistic time. Remember, when it's below 0.5, for me, it's not an all-in approach, okay? It's a systematic DCA. And maybe in the premium video this coming week, I'll show you more of what I mean. But with that said, because we do not know how long we will spend below the 0.5 risk level, that's why it's important to just start DCAing with the idea that you hope the price just stays low for as long as possible so that you can accumulate as much Bitcoin as you possibly can for what I would consider to be the inevitable move above $100,000. You guys know I've been very, very skeptical for a long time now on the sustainability of the move that Bitcoin has been in. And we've been discussing the idea of an intermediate peak, a double peak cycle for a while, and it seems like we are potentially getting that. A lot of people keep asking me, well, what am I buying? Remember, at this stage, if you're buying anything, I think it mainly should be Bitcoin. So for me, I was able to move into a Bitcoin position a little bit earlier today, below the 0.5 risk level. From here, every Monday, so remember, there's a lot of evidence to suggest that every Monday, that Monday is the best time to buy Bitcoin. So what I'm going to do is every Monday, if the risk is below 0.5, I'm going to buy Bitcoin, okay? And it's a way to just start building your stack for that inevitable move to six figures. Now, we've talked about, well, how long could that take? I know a lot of people want to see it happen immediately. A lot want to see it do something like this. And hey, we're going to keep an open mind. We're not going to say it can't do that. And it's because of that possibility that maybe starting to DCA is fine, right? Because if it does immediately bounce back up, you'll have wished that you bought at least some Bitcoin so that you can say that you bought you bought this dip over here. But what I would say is I'm much more looking forward to the possibility that this is not an immediate correction. Okay, why do I not want it to be an immediate correction? Well, I think that if we have a more sustained move down over the next few months, then it's only going to help us go higher later on. So I would consider where we currently are to be the reaccumulation phase for Bitcoin for this cycle. Okay, and I would basically say it's going to be in this range between 20 to 40K. Okay, 20 to 40K, more or less, in my opinion, is going to be the reaccumulation phase for Bitcoin for the market cycle. Now, we could, of course, dip below 20K. This would be like the worst case scenario if we go back to, say, the 200-week moving average. Now, if we go to the 200-week moving average in a few months, then it would meet at 20K. So we need to consider that as a possibility. But there's some other moving averages that might act as our support well before then, in which case we might not go to the 200-week moving average. We just want to keep it in the back of our mind as a potentiality. No one likes to think about the 200-week. When we were here, no one wants to think about it, and we went to it. When we were here, no one wants to think about it, and we went to it. So let's not assume that it can't happen. Let's say it could happen, and if it did happen, that would be the time to really push in. We talk about dynamic DCA. That would be the heaviest DCA buys I would be doing, similar to what I did over here and what I did over here. So the other moving averages I think we should keep an eye out for: the 50-week. The reason I say the 50-week is because we have seen considerable bounces off the 50-week moving average in the past. There was one right there. If we go look at this chart that has more data, if we go look at that 50-week moving average, we had a bounce here, we had a bounce here. So I would not, and we already almost we basically went to it already to some degree. It's at 27.8K. But regardless, I would say that right now we have entered into the reaccumulation phase for the inevitable move to 100K. Now, what does that mean? Basically, what that means is over the next few months, we do not know how long it'll take. It could take 2 months. It could take 8 months. Okay? We don't know how long it's going to take, but the mindset now should be, as we continue along, is Bitcoin, Bitcoin, Bitcoin. Remember when Bitcoin was making this move back in October, back in the October timeframe, everyone was wishing they had more Bitcoin because Bitcoin was outperforming a lot of the altcoins. Everyone wanted more Bitcoin. And if you were on the premium list back then, you'll know that we went super heavy Bitcoin right here, because my contention was that at the 20-week SMA, if you're going to buy, you should buy Bitcoin. Over here, the risk level was low, so it was a no-brainer. Over here, the risk level was high, and so I said, hey, if you're going to buy Bitcoin, or if you're going to buy anything, it should be Bitcoin. But I would say it's probably better, for me personally, I'm going to wait till we get below the 0.5 risk level. And then I woke up this morning and I had several orders filled at prices I didn't think were going to get filled, to be completely honest. But now that we're in this phase, I don't want people to necessarily think that it has to immediately bounce, okay? We could see relief rallies for sure. I would say we could definitely see relief rallies. Don't be surprised to see moves back up. But I would be surprised if it is able to go to a new all-time high within the next few weeks. So I've seen some theories circulating around discussing a new all-time high within a month, and that this was the shakeout we needed to push us to that all-time high. Hey, if these guys are right, there's always a good chance people can get these short-term moves right. Because there's a chance they're right, that's why it's smart to just DCA into Bitcoin. And at the end of the day, whoever's right in the short term doesn't really matter. The only thing that's important is that DCAing Bitcoin at this phase of the cycle is probably what makes the most sense. Okay, so what I would say here is, for me, I've already bought some Bitcoin. Slightly more than I might want to just DCA into every week, because I just want to get some back into the market. But then I'm going to be DCAing Bitcoin every Monday, as long as the risk is below 0.5. And I'm not going to be buying altcoins right now. Okay, so let me be clear. I'm not buying altcoins right now. When would be a good time to buy altcoins? Well, remember, I still have plenty of altcoins. I did not sell all of them. If you look at the stop limits, you can see we took plenty of sells of altcoins back to stable coins all throughout here. And so I have a sizable stablecoin stack, which I already had a sizable stablecoin stack. Even this one up here, this highest risk band sell for Bitcoin that I did at 0.875, 1/5 of it, color coded orange, most went to stablecoins, some went to Ethereum to capitalize on the Ethereum move. And remember, I did take some Ethereum profits back to Bitcoin to make sure I got my Bitcoin percentage back up. But now I want to get my Bitcoin percentage back up by using my stablecoin position. Okay, and I see this as an opportunity that's going to be, hey, we're going to come out the other side. I just don't know how long it's going to take. If you're new, you may be used to this market being just going up and up forever. It has not always been like that. There's been plenty of people, who've been following these strategies for a long time now, where we were basically just mindlessly DCAing Bitcoin over here. Okay, mindlessly doing it. We didn't really care what happened in the short term. We were not put off by what happened in the short term. We were buying Bitcoin here, and when it dropped, we bought a lot more. At least that's the strategy, right? So I would not be phased by it. So the idea then is, if you buy Bitcoin here, and then in a few weeks, the price is down here, I would not be phased by it. It's just you DCA into the market, right? You DCA into the market, and whether it goes all the way down here, whether it stops here and goes back up, or whether we're already at the bottom and we immediately go back up, that's why this is the phase to start DCAing back into the market, in my opinion. Okay, this would be the phase to systematically DCA back into the market. So I bought some Bitcoin earlier today. I'm not going to buy any more until Monday, unless we get some crazy capitulation of it. If we go to 20K this week or something, then I'll be moving heavily into Bitcoin. But if we're just chilling between, let's say 35K to 45K for a few weeks, as long as we're below 0.5 risk, I'll be systematically moving into the market. So this is sort of our reaccumulation phase for Bitcoin that could last more than a few weeks. It could last more than a few weeks. And if it does, I just think it's going to give us an opportunity. There's going to be a time later on when you're going to wish you had more Bitcoin to DCA into alts. Okay, so when Bitcoin starts going up, a lot of us are probably going to get bullish on altcoins, because we know how altcoins perform once Bitcoin starts to get really bullish. We're going to want to have a lot of Bitcoin so that we can buy all these altcoins when that time comes. So I would say, if you go look at the dominance, you can see that it has started moving back up. The last video we did was called The Middle Game. I said sometime in the next 6 weeks. I guess it meant sometime in the next week that we would see sort of a reversal of the Bitcoin dominance. Okay, so I think we're in the middle game. Now. We're in that phase where Bitcoin has had a pullback, the dominance is going up. The safest thing, I think, to DCA into right now is Bitcoin. Okay, now when would I go into altcoins? Well, first of all, I think the altcoins need to get to risk levels below 0.5. But even then, I'm going to mainly focus on Bitcoin for a few weeks, just to get my percentage of my Bitcoin up. I want that to go up, because it's been low for a while. I would like to get it to a much healthier number, so that if the market continues to pull back, I have plenty. I'm protected to some degree from that by having a majority of it in Bitcoin. Now, I've also mentioned to you guys before that there are a few coins that I do not have that I do want to get once we have a major correction. Okay, but I'm not going to get them yet. I'm not going to get them yet because, again, I'm focusing on Bitcoin. And maybe we'll talk about those like in the premium video or something this weekend or something. But I do want you guys to know that Bitcoin, in my opinion, right now should be the focus of I mean, it's pretty low risk. It's pretty low risk right now, 0.526. I mean, obviously I was getting it earlier below 0.5, and hopefully I can continue to get it below 0.5 each and every week. But Bitcoin, I think, should be the focus, and we'll continue to see how this plays out and where exactly we turn around. It's interesting if you look at, say, the log of the price over the 20-week. You can see that we have entered bearish areas. This has turned red because we're below both the 20-week SMA and the 21-week EMA. And if we go over here and look at the index for Bitcoin, we can see that back in 2013, this is the level we dropped to in terms of how far below the 20-week SMA we went. You can see that is where we turned around, which is exactly where we currently are. That would be one thing to keep in mind, and because of the possibility that we immediately turn around, that's the reason I think, again, it's safe to start DCing into Bitcoin, basically hedging against the fact that, well, what if the accumulation phase only lasts for a few days, not 3 months or 5 months? What if it only lasts for a few days and next month we're trading back at 55K or something? That's the reason I would say to start DCing, but it's probably not the safest bet to go all in. You probably want to keep some on the sideline to have the power to later move more into the market once it's a little bit more clear where we're headed. You could see it too as risk management. If Bitcoin gets back above, let's say the 21-week EMA, then you might at that point decide to DCA back into some alt positions because it seems like Bitcoin might have a little bit more confidence. But there's another indicator we can look at. If you look at the log of the price over the fair value, you can see that back in 2013, in terms of, say, the extension from the fair value, we came down to this level, okay, which would mean we would have a little bit further to fall. This would mean if we look at this, obviously from the 20-week, it looks like we could already be approaching. Well, I guess it makes it seem like we could be approaching a bottom on the weekly time frame. So if you look at this on the weekly time frame, it looks like we're there already. On the daily time frame, you can see that we could theoretically have a little bit more room to go here. And then if you look at the log of the price divided by the fair value, you can see that we came down further from where we currently are as well. So that's why I'm saying I wouldn't necessarily assume it's the bottom, but there's enough evidence to suggest that it could be, which is why I think starting to DCA probably makes the most sense. That way you're hedged, right? If it goes up, you started buying Bitcoin, and if it keeps going down, you haven't gone all in because you recognize there's still potentially more to the downside. Because I also want to keep an eye out for, there's been these prior moves where it seems like it's about to break back up, but then you end up getting one of these like macro trend lines where we keep testing it and we keep getting rejected by it. Okay, so I'm sure a lot of people remember some of these trend lines where we keep getting rejected. There used to be this trend line that people would draw, that one there. If you guys remember that one, we called it the trend line from hell. Until we broke it. So I would say, it's certainly possible we get some rallies, but I would not necessarily assume we're going to put in a new all-time high until you see us really decisively breaking past some of these milestones that we've been setting for ourselves. Like 60K would be obviously one of them. If we're above 60K, hey, maybe we're off to the races. I just wouldn't assume it's going to happen in the immediate future. So remember, Bitcoin now should be the focus if you're buying anything below 0.5 risk. Doesn't mean it can't go lower. 0.4 risk is all the way down at 27,727, which currently corresponds to the 50-week SMA, 27,828. So if we go down to this level, by the way, before Monday, probably doesn't happen. Like, let's be honest, it probably doesn't happen. But if we did, I would buy Bitcoin again before Monday if we go back down to that level, just because we often get pretty nice bounces there, and it might be nice to move in a little bit more on the idea that, well, what if it holds? What if the 50-week holds and we don't go any lower? The 100-week is currently at 18,297, which more or less corresponds to the 0.3 risk level, which is currently at 20K. So 20K for me would basically be close to the bottom. If not the bottom, I think it would be close to the bottom. And if we go to that level, that would be where I would probably go really heavy into some altcoins. Because if Bitcoin were to go back to 20K, alts are going to take a beating. Right? Alts would take a huge beating if Bitcoin went back to 20K. And so I'm not saying it's going to go to 20K. I'm just saying that if it does, that would be a huge opportunity to move into altcoins, because a lot of times that would be near the bottom, and at the Bitcoin bottom, that's where altcoins have had true capitulation, and that's where you would want to move into altcoins pretty heavily from, say, like your stablecoin positions. It really does show the usefulness of systematically just taking profits and setting them aside as stablecoins, earning interest on those stablecoins of 8 to 9%, and then just waiting for the pullback. And I know sometimes it can be hard waiting for it to go below 0.5, and we waited forever. Here we are. We're currently at 0.526, but we've been moving above and below 0.5 for a while now, and I would say that we're just back to DCAing, right? We're just back to DCAing. If you see this below 0.5 and you're wondering, hey, is Ben buying Bitcoin? The answer is yes. Anything below 0.5. And this coming week for the weekly report, we'll go back through the dynamic DCA strategy in the event that we continue going down. Okay, in the event that we continue going down. Now remember, if you go look at this chart, the risk level chart, I would say so far it has been pretty battle tested. Okay, because we had the risk metric, we created it. I created one a long time ago, and then I readjusted it for this cycle once we had more information on this cycle's, on the last market cycle peak, and so it's been battle tested. It went down to 0.12 over here. You might say, well, this looks like it's 0.2. On the hourly time frame, we watched the risk level go all the way down here. Okay, it went all the way down here back in March of 2020. So it's been battle tested to the downside when it went to 0.12. It's been battle tested to the upside when it proved it could go back to the 0.9 to 1 risk band. If you zoom in, you might say, well, it didn't get the top exactly. Like if you see where it went to 0.9 risk, it corresponds closer to maybe 58 or 59K. To me, this is pretty darn close. This is pretty darn close to where the top was at around 64K. It's pretty darn close. So I would say it looks like it's been pretty well battle tested. Therefore, if we were to assume that the risk levels encompass the current short-term instantaneous price of Bitcoin, we would assume in that case, we would assume that that it would be limited by, let's say it can't go below 0.1. That'd be 11K. Like that'd be a worst case scenario. But remember, these are moving up. These are moving up every single day. So I certainly don't expect Bitcoin to ever go back to 11K. I don't expect it to go back to 12K. I could see it going back to 20K and maybe even dipping below it at a worst case scenario. Again, that would be like worst case scenario. But like 0.3 risk is at 20K, 0.4 risk is at 27K, 0.5 risk is at 37K. So this is the threshold we needed to get below before it makes sense to DCA. 0.4, I'm going to start DCAing in more, a little bit more heavily. If we go to that level, and if we go to 0.3, I'm just going to continue to up the game. I'm going to continue to up the game on that. So hopefully this has been useful. If we talk about how to navigate this cycle, remember, Earning interest is a good thing. So if before the market was a little bit too heated for you to appreciate, 12% APY or 5% APY, whatever it was for, your crypto of choice or what you were interested in, now might be a good time to really investigate that, because earning 12%, earning 5%, whatever it may be, it can really add up whenever things pick back up. So use this time now as an opportunity. I don't know how long this opportunity is going to last. My guess is it could last longer than some people think. Use it as an opportunity to really set yourself up for what I would consider to be the inevitable next leg up. And whether that leg comes next month or 6 months from now is somewhat irrelevant. You need to start preparing yourself for it now. So remember, if we continue to think about the idea that the cycle could theoretically lengthen, we do not necessarily want to speculate that the peak has to come in 2021. It could drag out longer. It could go into 2022. It could go into 2023 for all we know at this point. So set yourself up. Remember, this market cycle is one way to set your future self up to help you become financially independent. If you can get this well-oiled machine running where you're earning interest, and you can maybe replace certain levels of your income just with interest from crypto. If the valuations of these cryptocurrencies go up by 10x over the next couple years, and you are earning interest on it, it's going to really make a huge difference, because the interest is paid out in the token, not in USD. So consider that. But anyways, I think I've rambled on long enough. At this point right now, I think, if you're buying anything, it should be Bitcoin. For me, I'm buying Bitcoin below 0.5 risk, and I hope it goes lower. And if it doesn't, at least I started picking some up. So Bitcoin, Bitcoin, Bitcoin. And if I want to go into some altcoins, I'll certainly be letting you guys know. But at least for a little bit, I think Bitcoin should be the focus anytime you look at this. For me, on a Monday, and it's below 0.5 risk. Because a lot of times we get dumps on Sunday night. People who have been here for a while can attest to that, right? I mean, it seems like Sunday nights a lot of times when things dump. So hopefully this has been useful. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.